In this video, we will introduce another type of R data structure called array. Array are very similar to matrix, but different from matrix that array can have more than 2 dimensions. So we know matrix is a data object with 2 dimensions, right? So arrays can have more than 2 dimensions. So array can be used mostly for machine learning because in machine learning or big data, there is always with the data set with more than 2 dimensions. So array is a natural extension of the matrix, and they can be useful in creating functions that perform statistical calculations also. And like a matrix, array must be of a single mode for each element in array. An array can be created using a function array. So very easy. Array is a function which is used to create arrays. So in this example, we create 3 vectors called D1, D2, and D3, representing the labels for the dimension 1, dimension 2, and dimension 3. Then next, we can use array function with the element 1 to 60. This is 60 elements in this array, and arrange it in 3 dimensions, 3, 4, 5. If we times these 3 numbers together, they are 60, right? So in dimnames, we use a list D1, D2, D3. So next we show these examples in RStudio. So these 3 vectors for the labels are created first. Then we create an array called A, and with 60 numbers, arrange it in 3 dimensions with the numbers in 3 dimensions is 3, 4, 5 with the labels D1, D2, and D3. Then we show this array. So it's quite long in the window. So this L1 means in the first element of the first dimension. So there's a matrix, right? So for each element, so this is for the 3rd dimension. So for the first element of the 3rd dimension, there is a matrix comes from the 1st dimension and the 2nd dimension, right? And the same for the 2nd element in 3rd dimension. There is also a matrix with 3 rows, 4 columns, right? So if we want to access elements, there is a multiple ways. For example, if we write A bracket 1, then next with 2 commas, which means in the 1st dimension, we select the first element. Remember that the index from rprogramming starts from 1, not from 0. So 1 represents the first element in 1st dimension. So for the 2nd and 3rd dimension, we will select all elements. So this is a matrix with 4 rows, 5 columns, because the 2nd dimension has 4 elements and the 3rd dimension has 5 elements. So there's a matrix with 4 rows, 5 columns. And similarly, we can select for the 1st dimension using comma, which means we select all elements in the 1st dimension. For the 2nd dimension, we just select the 2nd elements. And for the 3rd dimension, we select all elements. So the result is a matrix with 3 rows, 5 columns, because the 1st dimension has 3 elements and 3rd dimension has 5 elements. So there are 3 by 5 matrix. And the third type, if we select for the first dimension, we just select the first element. For the second dimension, we just select the third elements, and for the third dimension, we select all elements. So the result is a vector with 5 elements. Because both the first and second dimension, only one element is selected. So for the third dimension, select by all. So this is one vector with 5 elements. And the last type, if we add all individual numbers for those 3 dimensions. So the first dimension is for the first element, second dimension is for the second element, and the third dimension is for the third element to be chosen. So the single element from this array has been chosen. So you can see there are multiple ways or very flexible ways of selecting elements or index subscripting elements in array. Thanks for watching.